Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Jo, and today I want to talk about one of the most crucial parts of your journey to lose some weight, and that is your daily habits. Now, I know most of us, when we think about losing weight or getting fit, our minds immediately go to the diet and the calorie deficit. And don't get me wrong, that is really important. But we often see a diet as something we're either on or we're off, right? But here's the thing, it's the on and off mentality that sets you up for failure. It creates a cycle where we might lose some weight, but as soon as we fall off the wagon or think the diet's over, the weight creeps back on. It can be really frustrating, and it can feel like there's a never-ending battle, that it's never over and you're never winning. But there is a better way, and it starts with shifting your focus from diets to habits. So why are habits so important? Well, habits are literally the building blocks of your daily life. They are the things that you do automatically every day without really even thinking about them. And the truth is, it's those automatic behaviours, your habits, that will have the massive impact on your long-term success, far more so than your willpower or whatever's in the latest diet trend. Ultimately, every diet, for it to work, has to create a calorie deficit for you to lose weight. By that, I mean you have to burn more energy than you're taking on in terms of food. Now, most of us, if not all of us, know that. But for any of us who have been on a diet, we know how hard it can be, especially after the initial surge of enthusiasm we might have, and our focus wears off after a few weeks. It's hard because our brains are hardwired to automate most of our daily activities. Now, that includes your snacking, your activity levels, all of that stuff you're trying to change. So let's break it down. So habits are like the autopilot settings of your brain, like brushing your teeth morning and night. When something becomes a habit, it's not a struggle or a conscious effort. It's just what you do. You're an autopilot. So imagine not having to fight with yourself to get to the gym or eat healthily. It just happens naturally because it's part of your routine. And that's the power of habits. The problem is that habits can work for you, like brushing your teeth, keeping your mouth nice and your teeth nice and healthy, and they can also work against you. So if you've been struggling to reach your goals, the chances are that you've got some habits that aren't serving you well. Now, maybe that's because you're reaching for snacks when you're stressed. Maybe you're skipping meals because you're really busy or because you're feeling guilty about what you ate last night. And then you find yourself overeating later in the day. Or maybe you are really good at finding excuses to skip your workouts because there's something on the TV or on Netflix that you want to watch. Now, those habits can sabotage your progress because they're deeply ingrained behaviours that are hard to break with willpower alone. So if you're finding it hard, you're not alone. It's pretty common. Habits are really hard to break. But the good news is that just as habits can be formed, they can be changed. And when you start focusing on building the right habits around food and exercise, that's when you're setting yourself up for long-term success. Something that no short-term quick fix diet can ever give you. So let's talk about how to identify the habits that might be what's holding you back. And the first step for this, obviously, is you need to know what those are. You need some awareness. So start by paying attention to your daily routines. What do you do when you wake up? What do you reach for when you're stressed or tired? How do you approach meals and snacks? Are they planned? Do you just wander into the supermarket or the corner shop on your way home from work? What is it that you do? How do you run your life? What are your daily habits? Because all of those little actions add up. So what I would recommend is, if you're sort of don't really know where you're going wrong, is just try and keep a habit journal for a week. And that's just write down the things that you do related to food and exercise. And this absolutely is not about judging yourself. It's not about pointing a finger. It's just about understanding about what your days look like. And then at the end of the week, you need to look back and see if you can spot any patterns. So maybe that you notice that you always grab a sugary snack mid-afternoon because you're tired. Or perhaps you realise that you're skipping your evening workout because you're not really planning your day effectively, or things crop up, and they routinely crop up because life is life, right? Now, that kind of self-awareness is powerful because it gives you insight into what's going on. And once you know what your habits are, then you can start to change them. So how do you build new habits that support your fat loss goals? Well, the key is to not try and do too much too soon. It's to pick something small, start small. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. In fact, trying to do too much at once is a surefire way to burn yourself out and give up. The most effective way for most people to make long-term change is to do it slowly. So focus on one thing at a time. Now, it could be as simple as drinking a glass of water before each meal or setting out your workout clothes the night before so you're ready to go in the morning. Now, they might seem like little things, but they can have a huge impact over time because not being able to find your workout gear in the morning means that you've wasted 15, 20 minutes and you now haven't got time to go to the gym and you just think, oh, I'm too late, I'm going to hit the traffic, haven't got enough time, I'll go tomorrow instead. Another effective strategy you can try is something called habit stacking. And that's where you would take a new habit that you want to form and pair it with an existing one. So an example of this might be if you already have a cup of coffee every morning, that's certainly what I do, you could use that time to also prepare a healthy breakfast. So maybe you have an apple or a piece of fruit with your breakfast along with that cup of coffee in the morning. So you're pairing the coffee, something that you do as an automatic habit, with something that you want to introduce. And over time, those little things, they will become automatic, a bit like brushing your teeth morning and night, and you don't have to think about them. And then when they're just part of your routine, that's when you start to see the changes. Because you have to remember that making these changes and building them up over time, it's an important part of the process, and you don't have to be perfect at it. So there are going to be days when you forget to have the apple or you run out or whatever, and that's okay. What matters is you get back on track, you keep moving forward, and you do what you can to make sure that you know that's what you do in the morning. You have your apple with your cup of coffee or whatever it is. The goal is to make those habits so automatic, so ingrained that they become your new normal. And that's when you're going to start seeing some change. That's when it stops being painful, that you don't look forward to it. It stops feeling like a punishment. You just do it because it's what you do. It's who you are. It's not about the number on the scale that you see this morning, this week. It's actually about building a lifestyle that support your health and well-being in the long term. And the more you focus on creating those healthy habits, those habits that align with your goals, the less you're going to need to rely on willpower or feel tempted by those fad restrictive diets. So start small. Pick something this week that you're going to do. Be patient with yourself and remember that every one of those little changes you make over time, no matter how small, is absolutely taking you in the right direction. I hope you found this episode helpful and you feel able to start work on those habits that will help you achieve long-term fat loss and the health gains that you want to see over time. Bear in mind, it can take some time. This is not a quick fix. It does take time. It does take some persistence to stick with it. And actually, that's why diets are so hard, because when you're just relying on willpower rather than habits and routine, it can feel like a punishment. It can feel like a real conscious thing that you're going against the grain, so to speak. You're fighting your autopilot. And that's why getting some support, some accountability, some coaching whilst you're making those changes, that can really help you make the breakthrough. If you've already signed up to my 6-week program, Start With Purpose, then I'd really encourage you to keep the habit journal for the next week or so to help you come in on day one and help you home in on what it is that you need to work on so that you get the absolute most from the 6 weeks of the plan. If you haven't joined yet, and you're interested, then check out the details on the show notes or reach out to me on social media. My contact details will be in the show notes. I will happily have a chat with you and answer any questions. If you're enjoying the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with anyone else who might benefit from these tips. Until next time, bye.